Hello, everyone. I'm starting a series of Systems Architect and Program Stabilization Lead practice series for practitioners architect version session number one. And I should mention here we won't be talking about the IT systems. We may touch upon them, but this role is mostly about the human systems, such as the enterprises, organizations, corporate companies, be be it local or a global company, international. So let's move on. Stabilizing the enterprise first. Why the role of a system architect and program stabilization lead matters? As all of you know, nowadays, all of us are undergoing from one crisis to another, and the same happens with enterprises, corporate companies, and organizations, programs, etc. And this role of systems architect and program stabilization becomes very important. So the role begins with the correct problem recognition. Many enterprise failures are misread too early. Structural instability is often treated as poor delivery or weak execution. If the problem is diagnosed in the wrong register, intervention will intensify noise rather than reduce it. The architect stabilizer must learn to distinguish visible activity from actual system condition. Before intervention, the system must be read correctly as a whole. The core error in many organizations. Organizations often interpret system strain as an operational problem. They respond with more reporting, tighter oversight, and more delivery pressure. These responses may increase activity without improving coherence. The visible system becomes busier while the underlying system becomes weaker. This creates the illusion of control during structural deterioration. The wrong diagnosis produces the wrong response. Not every problem is local. Some problems sit inside teams, workflows, or execution practices. Others emerge from misalignment across the enterprise system. Cross functional friction, repeated decision failure, and overloaded sequencing often signal structural causes. A local fix may relieve symptoms in one area while transmitting risk elsewhere in the same system. The architect stabilizer must determine whether the issue is local, cross system, or architectural. I mean the design of the system. Systemic problems cannot be solved by local effort alone. What systemic instability looks like? Decision pathways become slow, repetitive, or unclear. Priorities multiply faster than they are resolved. Governance continues, but consequence weakens. Dependencies are visible but not truly controlled. Escalation becomes normal rather than exceptional. The system moves but doesn't regain clarity. Instability often appears first in the pattern, not in the headline failure. An image of analyzing the system. False signals of system health. Dense reporting, high meeting frequency, continuous executive involvement, detailed program dashboards, full portfolios and visible activity, strong language of urgency or transformation. Volume of activity is not proof of system coherence. When effort becomes a masking force. In unstable systems, effort often increases before clarity improves. Teams compensate for structural weakness through overwork, rework, and informal workarounds. Leadership may misread this compensation as resilience. In reality, the system is borrowing stability from people rather than producing it through structure. This cannot scale for long. Human effort can temporarily hide structural failure. And why temporarily? Because people get overloaded, they get burned, and they might leave. such a system or an organization. The threshold of scale. At larger scale, complexity stops behaving linearly. More layers, interfaces, geographies, and governance structures create compound effects. Distortion in one area can surface elsewhere. Surface indicators become less reliable. Risk travels through dependencies, not only through visible ownership lines. Scale changes both the nature of instability and the difficulty of reading it. The unspoken variable. Beyond a certain threshold of size and complexity, systems become highly sensitive to the quality of human interpretation. More quietly, they also become sensitive to the presence of individuals who can metabolize complexity without amplifying noise. Not all experienced operators affect a system in the same way. Some increase activity, some improve local order. A smaller number reduce turbulence at system level. This capacity is rarely named directly, but often recognized in real enterprise conditions. What the architect stabilizer must detect: whether the system is still self-correcting, where decision distortion is forming, which dependencies carry the highest structural risk, whether governance is functioning or merely being performed, whether current motion is stabilizing the system or exhausting it, whether the problem requires local correction, structural intervention, or architectural realignment. Diagnosis begins by reading system behavior, not isolated events. Why the role exists? Some enterprise conditions cannot be corrected through normal management mechanisms alone. The system itself must be read as an integrated field. Structural weakness must be identified before failure becomes explicit. Stabilization may require prioritization, suspension, or architectural, the system design correction. The role exists to restore coherence, reduce structural risk, and protect systems integrity. This is not an extension of delivery management. It's a different level of work. First, discipline of the role. Do not confuse movement with health. Do not confuse data volume with visibility. Do not confuse urgency with clarity. Do not accept surface explanations too quickly. Do not intervene before locating the level of the problem. Read the pattern before acting on the symptom. In a way, be a doctor of the system. The first stabilizing act is accurate reading. Core message. The problem is not always performance. Often, it is system condition. Large systems can weaken while appearing active. Structural instability often develops before visible failure. If the problem is misread, intervention will intensify incoherence. The architect stabilizer begins by diagnosing the real level of disturbance. Before the system can improve, it must be first understood. If you would like to continue listening to the sessions, please subscribe and push the notification bell. Thank you for your attention. I hope you like it.